Hey now everybody, welcome to Englit.org. This is Dr. Island, and today we are talking about the 101S Enhanced English online course. If you're taking the enhanced course, that 1-unit course, you're also taking at the same time a 4-unit course, and the description of that particular course is a separate video. You're going to be using, when you're on my website, you're going to be using both of these links here, and when you're on Canvas, you're also going to be basically in 2 separate classes. They are linked. You can't take one without the other, but ultimately it is 2 different websites. Let's talk a bit about how this works. You're going to be taking the English 101 course, which is the 4 units, and you're going to be covering all the material that's associated with that. But you're also going to be taking this 101S, which is a single unit that is enhanced in the sense that it focuses on grammar, structure, essay writing, things like that, skills that you will need in order to be successful at the college level, because both the 101 course is both applicable to transfer to private universities, but also Cal State, UC, etc., and therefore has very specific requirements in order for you to demonstrate that you can write, do research, and apply literary analysis at the college level. The English 101S course helps you with the mechanics of it, the grammar, the essay structure, etc., etc., and as part of that, that's what we're talking about right now. When you look at my website, and you are going to be using my website as well as Canvas, although everything on Canvas is really mirrored back to here anyway. You want to find Englit.org, and when you find the lava lamp, here's the 101S course, and you will see that you have some elements here that will be useful to you. The course description, the course calendar, and the grading policy. These 3 elements are your syllabus, and if you want a hard copy of the syllabus, you just, bring these up, print them out, and you're off and running. You also have some other things that we'll be covering during the course of the class. The assignment descriptions, so when I tell you to write an anecdote or to write a definition, this kind of gives you some brief examples of how it works and some of the elements that are required there. Also, we discuss modes in a more general way, and I even have some PowerPoint presentations on some of the more complex ones there. We also talk about paper formatting, things like, what an introduction looks like, what a thesis statement is, how to use quotation, how to cite something APA style, how to cite something MLA style, all of which we'll cover during the course of the class. We also have a specific grammar section, and for many of you this will be very helpful to bone up on things like sentence structure and how to avoid fragments or comma splices, how semicolons and commas actually get applied, so that you're using the fundamentals of English in a constructive way that helps you to make your points that you're articulating into your paper clear to your reader, because the reader of your paper only knows what you know if you're able to communicate with them effectively, and part of that is proper grammar, proper college level grammar, and organization of an essay, and that's what we'll be working on in the 101S portion of this class. On Dashboard, as I mentioned before, you're going to have 2 things that you're looking at. One of them is going to be your standard 101 course, your 4-unit course, and I discussed that, the things you'll be reading for that. But the other part that should be on your Canvas site is going to be that 101S course, and it is going to have a different number. It's going to be 2388, and when you click on that, you're going to see something that looks very similar to the 101 course, but it has some different elements to that. In the Start Here section, you're going to have the course description, the grading policy, the course calendar, and if you've heard those terms before, that's because it is this and this and this. In other words, when you look at this here, and you click on here, and you look at this here, you will find that they are indeed exactly the same thing. And that's because we are basically loading in, or I'm loading in the material that is already existent here. So if for some reason Canvas goes down, you are still good to go on this website. Once you get into the actual weeks themselves, however, you're going to see that there's basically an organization and structure to this. You may have as many as 5 or 6 things that you need to do during a week, most of which is reading. But there will also be writing assignments for you to demonstrate that you understand what I'm teaching you. This is a skills course. That means you have to be able to demonstrate that you know how to utilize the thing that I'm discussing, whether it's thesis statements or it's an outline or it's avoiding sentence errors. And as part of that, the grammar elements are going to come through in your work regardless. So I don't give you specific grammar assignments because everything you do for me is a grammar test. Because as you write something for me, I'm looking at your grammar, and when I respond to you about something, you're going to get a comment from me about the grammar and whether it's on target or it needs revision. The other aspect, of course, is going to be the format and the content itself. And each week you have some things to look at. One of them is going to be essay formatting, and that means this has to do with the physical structure of what an essay looks like. Things like thesis statements, paragraphing, what an introduction is, what a body paragraph is, what quotation looks like, what the reference page looks like, etc. So when you come down to, say, for example, week 2, one of the things I'm going to introduce to you is not only how to write a research paper, but also what a secondary source is and how to write, basically in paragraphs in an organizational way. This stuff is all important because it has to do with taking your thoughts and ideas and your research and presenting them in a way that your reader understands what you're talking about and gives you the best grade possible that reflects the amount of work that you've put into it. The other aspect has to do with the content itself. The content has to do with what you're actually doing in the essay. This is where we talk about essay modes, or the content of it. You're writing an explanation. You're writing a definition. You're writing a research paper on a literary work. All of these are different styles, and you need to know how they work. Also, in the week 1, you're going to be reading something about journals. I have a separate video for that, but basically during the course of the semester, you're going to be providing a journal for me, and I'll talk about that shortly. Another aspect for this particular weekly calendar of events is going to be the grammar issues themselves, and of course, I'm having you go through material that you certainly would have heard of in your grammar courses in grade school, and even some things you would have heard in high school. This is where I give you kind of a primer on some of the things that you should know, or maybe you knew but you forgot, or maybe through your own writing, which was not formal, it didn't matter. Well, now it matters. And so you need to know, for example, when commas are used and when they're not used, and what it means when you put a comma in a specific place. That stuff you will do for each week. There will be something to do along those lines, and if there's no grammar assignment for that week, then there'll be something the following week. The next element is the primary source. There is usually a primary source for each week. Now, if you take a humanities course, if you take a history course or a sociology course, and they talk about a primary source, that would mean if you're doing a report on Benjamin Franklin, a primary source would be something written by Benjamin Franklin. However, in literary analysis in an English course, the primary source is the work that you're analyzing. So if I have you read a poem by Edgar Allan Poe, or I have you read an essay by David Wong, and I tell you to analyze it, the primary source is that work that you read. Secondary sources would be, for example, in the Wong piece, secondary sources would be material about the author, material about the movie Karate Kid, which he discusses, material about how people find it difficult to follow through with a difficult assignment or skill, and those resources would be extra, the secondary aspects that help discuss the primary aspect. The primary source is very often an essay, maybe by Stephen King or by David Wong. It is going to be a story. It might be a video that you watch, maybe a short movie, maybe a documentary piece. You're going to be seeing primary sources in both this particular section of the course as well as the regular 101 course. The other element for each week that is likely due is the essay. You need to do a total of 6 accepted essays. I give you multiple opportunities to do that, which means I'm going to give you 10, 11, 12 assignments during the course of the semester, and 6 of those need to be done correctly in terms of grammar, formatting, content, all that stuff, in order for you to get credit for that. You must finish those 6 successfully in order to get a passing grade in the course. You get 1 chance to revise each work. And I usually explain in great detail specifically what you need to fix. And if you don't do it right that second time, then that work is basically closed down and you work on another work to get towards your 6. If you get done with your with the first six assignments, you're done with that particular portion of it, and all you have left is your journal, and the outline. Which brings me to the outline. One of the other elements that you're doing for a grade in this class is an outline. It is the only work that is shared between the 101 class and the 101S class. The outline is an important part of English 101 and is going to be an outline of your final research paper that you do in English 101. Likewise, the other element that you'll be doing during the course of the semester is a journal. I discuss in greater detail what is required in the journal, but for all intents and purposes, what you're doing is you're creating for me a set of pages in which you can really write about anything that you want, and it kind of gets down to ultimately what you want to write about. In terms of your experiences, you can be at work, or you can be at school, you can be developing things. I don't accept math equations, and I don't accept just junk in there. What it is that this is where you are filling pages, and I mean filling pages, in order to get to the 60 pages that would give you an A for the journal. Less than 60 pages will be a lower grade, and I do delineate that on the grading policy for this class. Ultimately, you are going to be creating really just 3 works during the course of the semester. You have 6 essays, the outline, and then the journal. And ultimately, you must submit a journal to me, which you'll drop off at my office at the end of the semester. You must submit an outline, and which you need for the other class anyway. And you must complete and get accepted 6 essays during the course of the semester to pass this class. This class is enhanced by and enhances the English 101 class. So a lot of what we're going to be discussing in here is what we're discussing in the other class. So they really work hand in hand together. Being aware and being up to date in both classes is important if you want to be successful in both classes. All right. As usual, you can always contact me at englitguy@earthlink.net. I have chat room each week between 7 and 9 p.m. in which, on Wednesdays, it's between 7 and 9 p.m., and in which we discuss the material for the class, and you can always ask me questions. You can always stop by my office Mondays and Wednesdays between 3:10 and 4:15, and or between and Tuesdays and Thursdays between 2:35 and 3:30. It's important that you maintain contact. It's important that you get through the information, and it's important that you stay up on the assignments because there's no late work allowed in this particular class. If you have any questions, contact me, and we'll get you started and get you moving along. In the meantime, stay in touch.